Morning everybody, I'm the Barebow Brummy. Today we're going to talk about fletching arrows. It's a thing every archer ends up having to do at some point, and this came to light to me simply because I was doing a quick invoice of my arrows and I've just bought some new ones, and I'll show you what my problem was. I've got some, they're all exactly the same arrows by the way. I've got some yellow and black fletchings on that one, some yellow and blue fletchings on that one, and the new ones came with yellow and green fletching. Now these two I don't really have a problem with, I quite like the colours, but this one and the rest of the set that came with it, the trouble is if you shoot in field, green and blue fletchings tend to be a bad idea because there are an awful lot of green or blue things in the woods, and these can get lost really easily. They're really difficult to see. So I decided to give all of my arrows a complete overhaul and change the fletchings on all of them, including all these, so that all of my arrow fletchings are exactly the same. I've gone with a nice white and bright orange, and what I thought I'd do then is show you all how I go about refletching all my arrows, so you can do it for yourself with a little bit of confidence. It's not a difficult thing to do as long as you follow some very simple guidelines. It's quite straightforward. I'll reset the camera up on the bench a little bit closer so you can see what I'm actually doing, and let's get on with it. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to do two different arrows. I'm going to do an aluminium one and a carbon one, because even though the process is very similar for both of them, they are slightly different. The carbon arrows you have to be a little bit more delicate with. The aluminiums are a little bit more robust. You can be a little bit more aggressive with it. So I thought I'd show you two different types, because then you'll have confidence to do either one if you wish. So what tools are you going to need? There's not much really. You've just got a knife. We'll talk about the knife in a little while. Some kind of glue. You can use fletching tape. I don't like fletching tape. I think it doesn't stick very well for me, and I don't really know why. You could buy specialist fletching glue, but I have a problem with that, because fletching glue you get from archery stores and it tends to be quite expensive. You could just buy ordinary super glue, which is what I've done. And the reason for that is, if you look at the ingredients in fletching glue that you buy from an archery store, it's made with cyanoacrylate, which is exactly the ingredients in super glue. So why not use the super glue? It's exactly the same thing and it's a lot cheaper. So that's what I do, and it works perfectly well. Right, okay, so let's get on with it. Oh, the third thing you need is you're going to need a fletching jig. There's no real way around to avoid this. You can try and do it by hand, but you simply can't get the fletchings in the correct place. You're going to have to invest in a fletching jig if you're going to do plenty of fletching. Unfortunately, that's the way it is. This one's a reasonably cheap one. There are various different types. The one you can put all three fletchings in one go, or you can put them on individually the way this one works. If you look closely at it, I've got it marked with a blue and a red line. The blue line is for where the back of my carbon fletchings go, and the red line is the back of where my aluminium fletchings go, so I know the difference. Because I mainly use this for me, that's the way I do it. So you mark them so you always get them in the correct place. Right, okay, let's get on with it. So first we'll do the aluminium one. As you can see with my aluminium one, I've got one that's already coming off, so I thought I might as well fix that one. I'm going to put the same fletching back on this one because it'd be easier, and I don't think I've got any more of those, so we're just going to reuse that one again. So simply what you do, take your knife, always work away from yourself, so hold the arrow at this end and cut in that direction. Do not cut in that direction, you will cut a finger off. Don't do that, that will be a bad thing. So in the case of one that's already off, just put the knife underneath the edge, hang on to the back end of the arrow, and just slide the knife down the edge of the fletching. Don't try and cut all the way through it, just use the point. All you want to do is just go about halfway through it and work it off. Then turn the arrow around the other way and work from the other side, get under the front edge of the fletching, and off it comes. I've got a little bit of damage there, but it's nothing much to worry about. Then you need to remove all the excess glue. If you feel along the shaft, you can feel that there's quite a bit of glue on there. So all you do is use the edge of your knife and just scrape off any excess glue, like that. Have a quick feel of it just to make sure it's all clear. That's fine, all the glue's out. Then take your fletching jig. You'll see that inside the fletching jig, just inside there, there's a little metal pin that your knock goes, let's just try it, your knock just goes inside there and fits onto that, so that when you rotate it round and you'll hear it click, it clicks into, hang on, let's put that back in properly. The arrow rotates, you'll hear it click, and that's the position for the next one, and the third one, and back to where it's supposed to be. There. Okay, so that's how the fletching jig works. So let's just, you take your fletching, place it inside the clamp, line the back edge of the fletching with my red line, just like that. Drop that back in, take your super glue, run a bead of super glue. I will say, use as little super glue as you possibly can. If you think you've used the minimum amount of super glue doing one of these, you probably use too much. The biggest mistake I see people make is they put too much glue on there, and it simply won't stick properly because it's just too thick. You want it as thin as you can possibly get it, just a very, very fine coating. Then put the jig over the top, hold it together for 10 seconds or so. There you go, that's on. Take a cloth, just wipe off the excess glue from either side. And that's now repaired. Done. So that's the aluminium one. Now, aluminium ones are quite robust because they're quite strong, so you can be fairly aggressive with the knife blade. But carbons are a slightly different story. They're much more delicate. It's much easier to actually cut through the carbon if you're not too careful. It's all about getting the angle of your knife blade correct. I've already taken 2 of the fletchings off this one, just leaves me 1 left to do, just to speed it up a little bit. So, take your knife blade, squeeze it between the bottom edge of the fletching and the shaft itself. As I say, make sure you cut away from yourself, not towards yourself, because it's going to be a sharp blade. You really could do with a fairly sharp blade. And the trick is to not cut all the way through the fletching. You're literally just trying to lift that edge as you go and just break the glue seal. So just gently, you can see from that, I don't know whether you can see, let's try to give you a better angle. All I'm doing is just working my way down, just removing, just separating the arrow shaft. I'm going to cut this towards myself to give you a better view. I hope you appreciate this, putting myself in danger here. But take your knife blade, just slide the front edge just inside the edge of the fletching and gently work your way along, just to ease the fletching off the shaft without damaging the shaft. Once you've done it that way, turn the arrow around the other way. And again, working away from yourself, do exactly the same thing. Don't try and cut all the way through. Just gently ease the knife down the edge of the fletching, just to ease it away from the shaft. trying to cause as little damage to the shaft or even the fletchings as you can. And eventually, what will happen if you have a little bit of patience is the fletching will pop off. Let's go back to the first side. Just easy out. Take a number of passes if you need to. And there you go. Fletching off. Now what you'll be left with, as you can see there, is a little bit of fletching remains and some glue. Now you need to scrape off the glue. It's quite important that you're trying to remove all the glue you possibly can, because you need a nice clean surface for the new fletching. So just scrape down the shaft. Again, don't use too much pressure. You don't want to remove any carbon. You're just trying to separate, get the glue off. And you'll notice that the sound changes once you've got through the glue and you're actually touching the carbon. It actually sounds different. So you can hear when you've removed all the glue. And I think that's all of it. There we go. That's all of it gone. Nice clean arrow shaft with no damage to it. You can see on the table there's only the remains of the glue. There's no carbon. You could tell if I'd have cut some carbon off, because what you'll get, and that's a bit of old arrow shaft, you see you get black pieces, but there were no black pieces with that arrow I've just done, so that's fine. Okay, now bring your fletching jig in, pop the arrow into the fletching jig in, make sure it's all the way into the slot so the knock fits nicely in there, nice and tightly. I've already got my new fletching in place there to the blue mark. As you can see, now it's just time to add some glue. Again, the very minimum you think you can get away with, and you probably need less than that. I'm not adding any more glue now. All I'm doing is just spreading the glue along so I've got a nice even coat. Then pop it over, hold it down. That fell off, that was crap. Put that in there like that, hold that down, and just hold it in place for 10 seconds or so. Off it pops. Then get yourself a cloth, clean off the excess, and there you go. Fletching in place. Okay, pop it back on the jig. Rotate the arrow round so that it clicks to its next stop. Just there. Put your new fletching in, one of the orange ones. Again, make sure you line it up with the blue line. Get your glue. Right down the centre. As I've said a couple of times now, as little glue as you possibly can. Too much glue makes it becomes messy, it won't glue properly. Make sure that doesn't fall out of the jig this time. Again, hold it in place. Just for 10 seconds or so, let the glue set. And then release. Take your cloth, wipe off the excess, rotate to the next point, wipe off the excess there. Third and final one, in the clamp, it's in the right place, get some glue, little as you possibly can. Again, just make sure that's in and squeeze in place, hold there for 10 seconds or so, and release the clamp. Clean off the excess glue. Take the arrow out, and there you go. All the fletchings are done. Before you even think about starting to shoot these, I tend to leave them for 24 hours just for the glue to properly set. But there you go. That's an improvement. That's how you fletch your arrows. Okay, so there you go. So that's how you fletch your arrows. It's not a difficult job, as I said, as long as you take your time, have the right equipment, and just experiment with it. You'll make a mess of it at first. I still sometimes do it wrong, but hey, it's all a learning curve, isn't it? Anyway, I've done all my arrows now. There you go. They've all got the same matching fletchings now, which makes life much easier, doesn't it? There you go. What do you think? Pretty, aren't they? Anyway, I've been the Barebow Brummie. I hope you've enjoyed it. If you do, please press the like button at the bottom. If you want to subscribe to the channel, please do. If you want to send me a message and ask me any questions, please feel free to do so. I'll see you soon. Bye bye.